Okay, tell me about your dad.
Well, he had to go all the way to, wait a minute, the Army post. Where was it? So he'd have to go take the train into Washington, and then another train or somebody was going from Washington out there. Fort Humphreys. It was Fort Humphreys and then Fort Belvoir later. Anyway, he worked for the Army, and then coming home, he'd get home about 5 o'clock at night.
What do you do for the Army?
He was a civil engineer.
Oh, that's where John gets it from.
Yeah. So then he'd change his clothes, go out in the garden, and start work in the garden, weeding or whatever had to be done. And if it got too dark and he hadn't finished, one of us would have to go out with a lantern and hold the lantern so he could see what he was doing. That's where we got our vegetables. That's practically, except for the eggs that we got from our chickens. That was about all we had, vegetables and chicken eggs and stuff. Just, that's the way we existed.
Didn't hurt you any. Look at you. 91 years old. It must
91.
have been
You said 81.
91. No, I said 91. You must have been pretty good healthy upbringing.
I guess so, but I know it wasn't easy.
Because all your siblings lived a long time too.
None of them lived this long.
No, you lived the longest, but none of them died young.
No.
None of them died young.
Well, I guess, living...
They were all in their 80s.
Living in the country, no factories blowing off lousy smoke and all that stuff, and eating proper food. We didn't have money for sweet stuff, all that stuff.
And you ate fresh vegetables,
Yeah.
fresh eggs. You didn't have to worry about salmonella on your eggs, did you?
And we did get things from the grocery store when we had to. But not,
Probably flour and stuff like that.
yeah.
Did Grandma make all her own bread?
Yeah, she was, every Friday she made rolls. But we survived, and we were poor. We didn't have any money. We had one pair of shoes at the beginning of the school year. If you got a hole in that pair of shoes, you put some cardboard in it. You couldn't throw them away because you didn't have any other shoes to wear. They had to last the whole school year.
Even at recess, huh?
What?
Even at recess.
Oh, yeah. But relatives would send us boxes of clothes, stuff like that. So in the attic, we had all these clothes that had come. If the girls wanted something, they'd go up and go through the stuff. I'm talking about my sisters. Go through the stuff and find something. They might have to alter it or do something, change the stuff, whatever. But that's where they got most of the clothes.
So you all knew how to sew.
Oh, we had to. The old pump.
Pedal sewing machine?
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
So what did you do for entertainment when you weren't actually doing chores and stuff like that?
Go out and look at the sky, and Daddy would say, "Oh, see that cloud that looks like a dog? Or see that cloud that looks like..."
Did you have a car?
Oh, we didn't know what it was to have a car.
No car? You didn't have a car?
No, of course not.
Wow.
We had, my father got a car from somebody who owed him money. They gave him the car and it wasn't worth beans. I don't think he ever drove it. I don't even remember what happened to it. But no, you walked. If you wanted to go anywhere, like to Washington, D.C., you walked to the train station and got a train. They didn't even have the buses at first. And later on they got buses. But I mean, there was the way of life.
How far was the train station?
Oh, I guess a few miles, maybe 3 miles, something like that.
That's a long walk,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the summertime when it's hot. And it gets hot up there in that part of the country, even though people think it doesn't.
Yeah, oh yeah, it gets hot. We had, in Falls Church, eventually we had a grocery store, we had a drugstore, and a post office. And later on we finally got a hardware store. But I mean, that was the
That was
center-
town.
Yeah.
That was town.
So
How big was the house you grew up in?
big. It was a solid stone house made of, what was that stone? Oh shoot. Pink granite or whatever. It was a really beautiful stone.
Yeah.
But the inside had never been finished. So my father used fiberboard to divide off rooms if he had to, you know.
Huh.
In the winter time, we had a double living room. In the winter time, he'd put fiberboard up between the two halves of the living room. Keep all the heat from the stove in one room
Mm-hmm.
because it was too big to spread about.
Too much house to warm the whole thing.
Yeah, and then the kitchen you had a big wood stove, wood or coal stove, and you had a kerosene stove. In the summertime you used the kerosene stove because it didn't heat up the room like the wood stove did. In the wintertime you used the wood stove because you wanted the heat.
Oh.
And the water, you'd go out to the pump and pump water into a bucket and bring it into the house.
Oh my.
We had an outhouse.
Was it a 2-seater?
Yeah, I think so. Two, at least 2. But you had potties in the house. So in the middle of the night, you didn't go out to the outhouse. You'd go to use a potty.
And it literally was a pot that you sat on.
Yeah, it was like a big bucket with a curved edge and a lid.
Old-fashioned porta potty.
Yeah, and in the morning, you take it out and empty it.
Oh my.
I mean, it's amazing. Now, I don't remember it because I guess I was still a baby. They had a couple of pigs, and they had them in a cage, you know, cage off. And my sister Becky, well, she was smart. She was doing something like feeding the pig or something. I don't know. Anyway, the pig bit her.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. How bad?
Well, bad enough that she never forgot it.
Oh yeah.
Mother sent Becky to the hen house to get eggs. She needed in the kitchen. Becky didn't come back. Mother went out to see what on earth was keeping her. She's out there making mud pies out of the eggs.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Oh, not good.
We had a big, huge cast iron tub, big and round like that they had used before when they had the pigs, to boil the pigs or something, I don't know. Anyway, in May, we'd fill it with water, but you couldn't go in it because it was still too cold, and the water was cold. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But after it sat out in the sunshine for a while and warmed up, then that was our swimming hole.
Oh. And the water never got filtered or circulated or chlorinated.
No.
Oh, must have been real healthy water.
I don't think we swallowed. You couldn't swim in it.
Yeah.
It was too small to swim. But we,
Splashed around in it.
yeah, we get
A
it.
wading pool.
Anyway, never knew what it was to have an automobile. So somebody gave my father one, which we never used. I think my brother Jack eventually got a car, and I don't know how it happened, but anyway, he rigged up a thing to pull the motor out of the car so he could work on it. We just didn't have that kind of transportation.
Man.
But you appreciate life when you get my age, knowing what you didn't have when you were little. But you didn't have toys. You didn't have money to buy toys.
Yeah.
The kids in the neighborhood, I don't care if you were 16 or 6 or 4 or 3 or whatever. Everybody in the neighborhood got together and played games. Hide and seek, kick the tin can, whatever. And that's right, that was your fun.
That was fun.
If the weather was too cold, you didn't go out. To keep warm in the winter, because when you had the real cold weather, the ice would form on the inside of the window.
Yeah.
And to keep warm, we would take newspapers and spread them out between the blankets. In other words, you take a blanket and you put
A bunch of newspaper.
and then another blanket over top. And that's how you kept warm.
That was your insulation, huh?
Insulation. So
Kept the body heat in.
yeah. We had one stove upstairs, potbelly stove upstairs. And on Saturday night, we had a galvanized tub, and Mother would fill it with water. And we'd take our bath Saturday night with the tub next to the stove, because you had to be warm.
Yeah. You get cold.
So that was the way we. Saturday night was the night to get bathed.
Bath night.
In the morning, you get up, you have a basin in the kitchen on the counter next to the water bucket or whatever water we had. And excuse me. You'd put the water, and you'd have some on the stove getting hot, and pour some hot water. And that you'd wash off with that. I tell you, I look back and I think it's amazing what we didn't have, but we lived in. And we were happy. We didn't know we were poor.
Yeah.
We didn't have any idea we were poor.
Well, I think a lot of this discontent with people is because the availability of exposure to the knowledge of what other people have makes people discontent, because they're not grateful for what they do
You see it
have.
all on TV.
Yeah.
The kids say, "Oh, look at that! Why can't I have that?" You know.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't have, their parents don't have that kind of money.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why I said that, and credit cards. The worst thing that ever happened to the United States.
Oh yeah.
The
Oh
worst
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?